Actually, let me just turn on my bedroom light super quick.
What's up, everybody? It is 2 o'clock on Wednesday. You know what that means. It's time for So What's the Catch? We are here on this beautiful January 19th. We got a lot of NFL football to talk. Why don't we dive right into it, boys? We got Josh here. We got James here. You guys want to talk some NFL football?
Of course.
Of course. That's our favorite. That seems to be the favorite sport on this show. So let's just go right into it.
All right. Well, let's start. We'll just go right down the list in order. It looks like that's how we have them on our rundown here. Yeah. So let's keep things organized here for once, and we'll run down this thing. So we had the Bengals take care of the Raiders. I'll be the first one to admit I had that one wrong.
I did too.
So go ahead, Josh. Go ahead. Take your victory lap there.
Yes, I get to take a victory lap on both of you today.
It's good.
Way, in my wild card picks, undefeated.
You had a really good day, but you got to start picking against the spread. You're too good to not pick against the spread.
Got to pick against the spread.
I do what I want.
Anyway, the Bengals covered regardless. They were so they covered this game easy. Burrow looked like Joe Burrow has looked for the past few weeks, and that's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Controversial whistle at the end. We've kind of seen a couple of those, but we saw the Raiders with a chance to win. We saw the ball in Derek Carr's hands with a chance to go down the field and take a lead, go down the field and tie. And both those efforts came up short. So
they did.
Yeah, kind of reminiscent of some of the endings that the Browns had this year.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
You mentioned the whistle, okay? And that got a lot of discussion. That got a lot of time in regards.
Can you guys hear me?
We got you, buddy. We're glad you're here.
We can hear.
Yeah, we got
you. I will transfer this over the computer right now. I'm driving, but I can still hear you guys.
Sounds good, buddy.
Okay, so
I'm gonna mute you until you get where you're going and turn your camera on.
All right. There was a whistle. Everyone was focused on the whistle and whether or not it impacted the play. I don't think it impacted the play on the touchdown. However, the rules state when there's a whistle, the play has to be blown dead and started over. Okay. Sorry, Cincinnati. That should have been called back. That should have been a redo. Chances are they probably would have scored again because they're really good. But that whistle happened, that touchdown shouldn't have counted. Yeah,
that's a big play, and that's a big point of the game too. And I agree with you here. The rules are the rules. I when it happens to your team, it sucks. But when you're on the other end of it, you're adamant about it. It's, hey, the rules are the rules. This is what happened, and it's not right. But the NFL has came out and made some statements about the officiating crew from that game. Have they not been suspended?
That was the Jerome Boger crew, wasn't it?
Oh, you're right. That was the other crew. Yeah. So anyway, it's kind of been a theme of the NFL this season, poor officiating at questionable moments of the game.
Oh, absolutely.
So the one thing that Josh and I were talking about off camera, he thinks the Bengals are going to the Super Bowl. I don't think they're ready. My concerns with the Bengals are the offensive line. And not getting the running game going, that concerns me a little bit. Burrow having to throw the ball, 35, 40 times. It's great as long as it's working, but you'd like to see them get the ground game going a little bit more. I didn't see much from Mix in that game, and that kind of concerned me moving forward. But that's where I stand on them. But I'll admit I was wrong. They look great. Yeah.
So first of all, I was just muted, so I don't know if you heard any of what I said in that little bit. But I want to just touch on that call on the whistle controversy a little bit, and then I'll dive into the Bengals more.
Okay.
Being that play happened in the second quarter, it resulted in what ultimately was the game-deciding touchdown. But the Raiders were able, for the most part, to overcome that, and they brought it to within a 7-point game, and they had an opportunity to win it at the end. Derek Carr just made a bad pass that sealed it. So, that play was a big factor, and maybe it was the deciding. No, I don't think it was the deciding factor, but it was a big component. I'll say it like that.
It mattered in the grand scheme of things. Deciding, obviously, I don't think it's deciding. But in terms of, the whistle and what the rules are, play should have been redone. And who knows? Maybe he throws an interception. Maybe he fumbles. Maybe they don't score. Maybe they have to settle for a field goal attempt and miss. Maybe it gets blocked or returned for a touchdown. There's so many infinite possibilities that exist that we didn't find out because the play was incorrectly officiated.
I'll give you that one. I will give you that one. But ultimately, I think the bigger factor was Cincinnati just had the more explosive offense, and the Raiders just weren't able to generate the same type of offense. But to touch on what you guys were just talking about, I agree. Cincinnati, yes, I'm crazy in picking them to win the Super Bowl. I know. But the reason I say that is I love what they have at the skill position player group. I know Kansas City has Tyreek Hill, and I know they have Travis Kelce, but that's only 2 players. Whereas Cincinnati has T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, a very underrated tight end in C.J. Uzomah. Joe Mixon's a solid running back. So I just think that group is the best, and I think that's what can propel Cincinnati.
I think they're a fun group. I'm not ready to make them the best. Chiefs still have the best. Sorry. That's before even adding the quarterback situation to it, because Mecole Hardman's very good. He didn't get mentioned just there.
Yeah.
And excuse me.
The one part I wanted to touch on too was, even though they didn't give him the ball much, Josh Jacobs was really running the ball well. He had 83 yards on only 13 carries. That's another area that is of concern for me. Is I don't know if they go, when they go against a team like Tennessee and Derrick Henry, I just don't know how they're going to fare in that type of game, because I anticipate that that's what they're going to plan on doing. Obviously, I don't think that's a secret to anybody. So,
you're right. And now Cincinnati is going to be without Larry Ogunjobi. He's on the injured reserve, and he's a pretty good run stuffer. His time here. So
Josh brought that up off camera. That's a really big piece of their defense that's going to be missing there, because
they have a couple other defensive injuries. So
who was the other one, Josh? You mentioned it on TSG. Who was the other one that went out that game?
I think his name's like Trey Hendrickson or something like that.
Yeah, Trey Hendrickson.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're right. So go ahead, James.
I'd say that's also going to play another factor. I mean, the Titans they're not an explosive offense, but they're a team that can impose their will. They're a physical offense. So and you eventually get worn down by that type of offense. And the Bengals don't have a great defense. They have a defense that got them to where they are. And when you lose players, it's not great when you're going up against this type of offense.
So let me just give you a hypothetical. Let's say the Bengals jump out to a 14. Again, this is hypothetical. Let's say the Bengals jump out to a 14-0 lead. Do you think the Titans have the type of offense that can erase that type of deficit? Because I personally do not.
Oh, I don't either, because you're putting the ball in the hands of Ryan Tannehill, who needs to be a complementary type player and not the player of the offense. Similar to like what we have in Cleveland, he is a passenger of the offense. He's not the driver of the offense. The driver of that offense down in Tennessee is the running game, mainly Derrick Henry. If you got to rely on the arm of Ryan Tannehill, it's not going to be a great result. We've seen that before, and we'd see it again.
Yeah, for sure. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day in the NFL, it feels like quarterback play is as important, if not more important now than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And that's really where I kind of pump the brakes on teams like Tennessee and guys like Tannehill, and even guys like Derek Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo, those guys that are just kind of right on the border, the people with a lot of talent, a lot of arm talent, and that show signs of like really good games. And you just don't know if they're going to be enough to get them over that hump. And when you look at the quarterbacks that are still in it, it's like, man, just all-time greats, Hall of Famers, So that's the only thing that I see is like, is Joey Burrow ready to compete at that level? I don't know. If he does, it'll be the story of the year for sure.
Yeah. With Joe Burrow, people are going to say, oh, he hasn't really been in a hostile environment in the NFL, and he hasn't been on the road in a playoff game, all this and that. I get it. College football atmospheres and NFL playoff atmospheres aren't necessarily the same. However, during his time at LSU, Joe Burrow was part of big games, not always on the road. I get that, but still, that's a big factor in it. And one of those big games just so happened to be against arguably LSU's biggest rival at Alabama in a high-profile matchup against Nick Saban, who's one of, if not the best coach in all of college football. So,
well, he is. I mean, let me just address that. He is.
Yeah, he is.
Okay.
You can say that. You can say that.
Let's just greatest of all time college football.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Continue.
But my overall point is, I don't think you can just dismiss that the idea that Joe Burrow is inexperienced when it comes to big games in hostile environments.
Yeah, usually I'd have a huge problem comparing pro and NFL or NFL and NCAA at any time just because there's just so many differences. But Josh, you make a good point. When you're going up against the greatest coach in the history of the game and arguably the most dominant, franchise in the country, but college, pro, amateur, doesn't matter, Alabama. That's as big of a stage as you could possibly play in at that level. So, Josh, I think that's a good point. He has had moments where everything was on the line and all eyes were on him, and he did show up. But at the end of the day, this is the men's league. Things move a little bit quicker. It's a different level of play. But, yeah, I'll give you that one. Normally, I would fight you on something like that, but that's actually a really interesting point because Nick Saban and Alabama are the truth. So that's a tough place to play.
And we also saw how well he did in the national championship against Clemson. Again, the national championship in college football is not the same as NFL playoffs, but it's still a big stage.
Right. But, you also have guys like, Jalen Hurts and Tua Tagovailoa who have showed up and done things on the big stage, and then they get to the pros and it doesn't work out that way. So there's definitely examples of both. But in this case, Josh, yeah, that's a really compelling argument. Like there's no bigger stage in college football that somebody could play than, at Alabama against Nick Saban with SEC, title on the line. That's huge. So yeah, that's a really good point.
One last thing on this in this Raiders Bengals game before we move on to the next one. I don't think the series or the way the game ended for the Raiders was definitely a great way. They come up on first down, they immediately come and spike the ball. They did not need to spike the ball there. They could have taken a shot at the end zone, and they could have had 4 shots to score instead of just 3. By clocking it, they purposefully ended up taking away one of their chances to score and tie the game. And
I agree with you on that one.
And the way they handled that was just poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point, James. Churk, all you missed is we launched into NFL playoff coverage. We were talking Bengals and Raiders. Do you have any thoughts about that Bengals-Raiders game before we move on, or the Bengals in general?
I mean, it could have been us there. I wish that was us. And I don't know why they're the football gods. They're blessing them now.
Well,
with a playoff win.
Let's look at who their quarterback is as opposed to who our quarterback is, and I think that may have something to do with it a little more so than the gods.
I think it also has to do with the skill position players.
I mean, the only difference is we have a better offensive line. They don't.
I mean, that's fine, but they have the best quarterback in the division. We have the worst. So that's a problem.
I'm with you, though, Churk. It hurts to see the Bengals succeed when, in recent memory, they haven't exactly been the most dominant franchise in the AFC North. It is a bummer to see them there while we're at home. I agree with you there. We got to move on to the Bills and the Patriots, though. I mean, Belichick kind of got the doors blown off of him there. And that's why. It's because
circle the wagons.
You guys know why. It's because nobody circles the wagons.
Like the Buffalo
Bills. I love it. Yeah. I took Buffalo here. This is one of the few that I got right over the weekend. I had a pretty poor weekend betting against the spread.
Man, on social media, they were doing like some WWE moves on their tables.
Oh, Bills Mafia. Bills Mafia is legit, my friend.
They were like doing some They were like Rob Van Dam doing 5-star frog splashes on tables.
You want to see an electric tailgate, any Browns-Bills game tailgate, that is absolute electricity from both fan bases.
Who
And
would
the
win
fan
that game,
bases respect each other. They have fun. They're like, okay, each group is unique in its own way, but it's always a good time.
Yeah,
The
cold
Browns
weather,
will be
Midwestern
pretty
towns. Like, it's a really good
Yeah.
Well,
atmosphere.
one's East Coast, borderline Canada, but
The
Yeah.
I
Browns
mean,
will
we're pretty close to Canada, too, if you go across.
yeah, we're actually pretty close. Yeah, you're right.
Hey, the
We may
Browns
be
will
closer to
Ontario.
Buffalo, to be
Western
fair.
New
but-
York this coming season. So
Right. Okay, so we got to talk about the quarterback matchup here, Josh Allen versus Mac Jones. Mac Jones came up a little short. He played like a rookie that game, I would say.
He had a macaroni arm.
And Josh Allen, on the other hand, 21 for 25.
I see your cringe there, James. I saw that cringe in your face.
But listen to these numbers real quick. 21 of 25, 308 yards and 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. So Josh Allen had himself a day.
He had more touchdowns than incompletions. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, that's
when
a
you
very
have
good
one
point.
of those games, that's just amazing. I believe he had a perfect game as far as everyone else is concerned in regards to what he could have done as the quarterback.
I would agree. That's as close to a perfect game as you could pitch as a quarterback.
yeah, I would agree also that was basically a perfect game. But here's what I really liked, not specifically about Josh Allen, but more just the Bills offense in general. Throughout the season, when I would get the opportunity to watch the Bills, it just felt like they were so Josh Allen dependent. And whether it was in their passing game, for obvious reasons, because he's the quarterback, but also in their run game, I didn't really see Buffalo utilizing their running backs at all, or it was all just very Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
So for them to come out and use Devin Singletary and some of their other running backs, I really liked that from Buffalo. It showed me that they are a balanced team and that they do trust their running backs.
I mean, but when they win by this large of a margin, that's when you're going to see the incorporation of the other running backs. If this game finished at 24-21, you're not going to see the inclusion of David Singletary all that much. It's still going to be primarily a Josh Allen game.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns for Singletary, 81 yards on 16 carries. And then, business as usual for Knox, 5 receptions, 89 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's emerged as one of the most talented red zone threats in the league at tight end. So yeah, I mean, they were really balanced throughout. Everybody that needed to show up for the Bills showed up. And I mean, what does this say about Belichick though? I don't know that this really changes my view on him much.
No.
I didn't know if anyone had a take on Belichick or his game plan for this game, or do you think that they were just outmatched?
I mean, they're a little bit outmatched. I mean, they had a rookie quarterback going into Buffalo. We had a build sighting.
We did have a build on the field.
So you look at that. You look at New England has a very old and slow defense. Okay, so that was always going to be problems. Okay, their defense is old. It's slow. And so what you look here is that you see New England was able to get back into the playoff picture. They were able to get back into being a relevant franchise after one down year with the Cam Newton experiment and how badly that ended up. Okay. So they used essentially last year as a reset. While they did lose in the first round, this is a stepping stone for the Patriots to move forward and build upon, because they're showing that they're not just done now. They're ready to get back to competing for championships.
I mean, I don't know if this was Mac Jones, more so the Patriots defense that led him to the playoffs.
Mac Jones was fine. He looked a lot like Tom Brady in their first Super Bowl run, but that doesn't really work anymore. So
I wouldn't say Mac Jones is like Tom Brady. I would say he's more like.
Well, I'm not saying he's like Tom Brady. The way he played was very similar to how Brady was that first Super Bowl run, where he was a game manager. Mac Jones is a game manager. He was a really good game manager, but he was a game manager, and that's fine.
Right. And when you're a game manager like him, you can't afford to turn the ball over twice. You really got to protect the ball. And those 2 INTs, that was a rookie playing in Buffalo. Like that's something that you kind of had to expect. But I think that just the fact that the Patriots ended up making it to the postseason and making it this far. Like, I agree. This is a stepping stone game. This is just going to, recharge. They're going to recharge, refuel, come out with they're going to be a team to compete in that division for years to come. I don't think necessarily that this means here's the Bills, Josh Allen and the Bills are dominating this division now. I don't necessarily think that's the case.
Yeah, I don't think this is a changing of the guard. I think New England's still going to be right there. I think Buffalo has to win the division at least 3 more times to really say this is like a changing of the guard. And this is probably a given, but what that game showed is obviously when you have 50-mile-per-hour winds, it's going to affect how the game is played. But it really showed that game was an anomaly. Because, again, Mac Jones in that Monday night game only had to throw the ball, 3 times?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was all he attempted was 3.
Yeah. So,
this game was always going to be different than that game. Like, exactly. I think we mentioned last week that, like, you can't even look at the film from that game to prepare for this week. But yeah, you could really see the difference for sure. Yeah. And we did have a circle the wagons in the chat. I just wanted to highlight that. We got circle the wagons in the chat. What's up, sis? Thanks for being a part of the show.
I do think the one thing New England could have taken away from that Monday night game, although it was an anomaly, is they were able to run on that Bills defense. And you saw like how frustrated the Bills defense was afterwards with the press conference and all that. So I think that's the one thing you could have taken away from that anomaly game.
And on the bigger picture, and I guess this is where I'm pretty much got the end of this game, my takes from this game, is that the AFC East right now reminds me a lot of the AFC North, okay? It's the Bills and the Patriots on top. The AFC North, it's mostly the Ravens and the Steelers on top, okay? And then the Dolphins are essentially the Bengals, and the Browns are the Jets. They're just not relevant. It's just what it is.
Fair point.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that 100%.
I can't even disagree with anything you just said.
It's what it is.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be an exciting year in that division next year. I'm really excited to see those 2 games are 2 games that you definitely have circled on next year's schedule. Like,
they're both going to be primetime games.
I also see a Browns comeback next season.
I do not.
I don't.
I hope you're right.
But
they had a mediocre season. A lot of times when there's a mediocre season, then they have one bounce back season. That it's usually the pattern I see in the NFL.
Well, for the Browns, the way that this has worked is that they have the one good season, then plunge into the pit of despair. Okay,
to just mid. So basically, they're just like middle of the pack.
The middle of the pack is a good season for the way things have gone for the past 22, 23 seasons. That's a good season for them. Think about 07, and after 07, how far just they fell and just didn't become relevant again until what?
2013
9 season with Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, that was a 10-win season. Braylon Edwards had 16 touchdown catches. Like Derek Anderson was slinging the rock. Like they were doing a lot of good things then.
Yep.
And then they were relevant again for 8 years, 7 years.
Yep.
Then they weren't relevant again for another 5.
You know what I'm talking about?
What's that, Churk?
Baltimore, the tight end was really good.
They always have good tight ends. Historically, they've always had good tight ends.
I was trying to say Kellen Winslow, but I know here in Cleveland, he's lost his reputation for other off-the-field issues.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's not talk about him. But let's move to the next game. Jalen Hurts stinks. That's my opinion.
You think he stinks?
He's terrible.
Look at these.
How did they get to the playoffs then?
They're a single wing. That's how they got to the playoffs. They're a team not even passing the ball. They're running the ball. Let's not even pretend they're running a modern offense. Okay, they're running some straight 1940s crap that doesn't work. They played a real team, the Bucs, and they got destroyed.
Exactly. The 15 points that the Eagles put up were in complete garbage time.
What is 16-9 then? 16 TDs and 9 interceptions.
Who cares?
Thank you. That's
positive.
Who's a positive differential? Sure, but you know what? 16 touchdowns doesn't mean jack shit in the modern NFL.
Yeah. Everybody has a positive
Who cares?
differential in the NFL now. Like if you're an NFL starter, you have a positive differential. So that's not really saying much. Well, in today's game,
I mean, I think even Lamar Jackson had a negative. He had a negative touchdown.
Lamar Jackson didn't have a good year this year.
Yeah, he had a bad year.
Still made the Pro Bowl.
Who cares?
Oh, here we go. With the Pro Bowl every week.
Bringing up the Pro Bowl. It does not mean jack shit. Get the fuck out of here with that.
Pro Bowl,
yes, I love it. But
the Pro Bowl still leads you to the Hall of Fame, though. Unfortunately,
what does
the Pro Bowl?
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
Then how did you said it doesn't?
It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It's all pros. It's MVPs. It's Super Bowls.
Yeah, things that matter.
That's the only reason.
All defense.
Here's a really good example. Look at the NBA All-Star game with the fan vote right now. Like, look at some of the guys that are in and some of the guys that are out. It's really bad. Like, All-Star games they're a joke. They're a complete joke.
I hate them.
So you think more All NBA, second, third?
Those matter.
All defensive teams, most improved player, all that stuff.
That
Rookie
stuff
of the year.
Because fans are not involved. Okay, when fans get involved, shenanigans happen.
Well, I think it's like 50% now in the NBA.
Hold on. Who remembers when there was the All-Star game, I think 2016, where the Kansas City Royals basically had the entire starting nine for the American League?
Yeah. I remember that.
Or when Jamal
a couple years later.
Or do you remember when Jamal McGlure was in the All-Star game?
Who gives a fuck about Jamal McGlure? Okay? But when fans are involved, bullshit happens. Okay? You can't put any stock into All-Stars. You can't put any stock into Pro Bowl. You can't put any stock in anything where a fan is involved. Besides jersey sales. Jersey sales, merchandise sales, that's it. Everything else means jack shit.
Okay, can we get back to Eagles, Buccaneers, please?
Sure.
It stinks.
Yeah.
Good call. I agree.
What about
Let's get back to that. But Josh, you made a really good point at the end of that before we kind of derailed there. All of the Eagles' points came in garbage time. They came in the fourth quarter after the starters were out. Like the Buccaneers were done with that game. So they were dominated completely. The score wasn't even as close as, 16 points isn't close, but it was a way bigger blowout than a 16-point, game. So and all the things that they did do well, like run the ball, Jalen Hurts, 8 carries for 39 yards. That was the team leader in rushing yards. So their scheme does not work when you go against a real team. So it just goes to show that, if you don't have a quarterback, if you don't have a guy and you can't run today's modern offense, you are going to get railroaded when you come up against a real NFL team in the postseason. Right. So when all of these 9-8 and 10-7 teams that barely get in because they had weak schedules or whatever it is, and they have gimmicky offenses, they always end up falling flat in the postseason.
And look at the NFC East. We'll talk about the Cowboys in a minute, but just to touch on them super quick, Dallas went 6-0 against the NFC East, but they went 6-5 against everybody else. The NFC East is trash. They are the worst division in football. Why do you think everybody calls them the NFC least? So
don't tell that to PFT. He'll tell you it's NFC Beast. But
that's right.
Don't tell it to who again?
PFT commenter. I will say this. I believe that the AFC North can contend for the worst division in football because this division stinks too.
How'd they win a Super Bowl?
Who?
The Eagles.
That was 4 years ago. Who cares?
4 years ago. Totally different team. Do they even have anyone on the team from that team still?
I think they might have Fletcher Cox.
Brandon Graham still on the team, I think.
Yeah.
Fletcher Cox is still.
There we go. Fletcher Cox is another one.
Shout out Brandon Graham, by the way. You like my hoodie, guys? Big Ten champions here.
Oh,
Brandon Graham, Michigan alum, figured out.
Love it.
I like Brandon Graham, but boo Michigan.
Yeah,
but you can't. That this year's Eagles team is not the 2016 or 2017 Eagles, whichever year you want to put them in.
Right.
We all have.
They're more like the '90s Eagles.
And look what happened to the Steelers too. Like we're gonna get there later. We're not gonna rush to that.
I'm so happy they lost.
But my point being is that, like, you know, throughout the beginning of the season, it was like, oh, the AFC North might be the best team or the best division in the country. And then by the end of the season, it was like, man, this might be the worst, conference in the country. And now, like, it does feel like this division was like, it was kind of a mirage. It was very close and competitive, and that kind of misled people to think that it was good. But just because teams are close and competitive with each other doesn't mean that they're good. Unfortunately, we got exposed. And unless the Bengals do what Josh thinks they'll do, I expect that they'll get exposed too.
I mean, and here's what I'll say. Credit to Nick Sirianni, Italian brother out there, doing some work with whatever this Eagles offense was and being able to get this team to the playoffs. Okay, because this team wasn't good. Okay,
are they missing Doug Peterson?
No, because Doug Peterson had that team in the absolute toilet last year, and Nick Sirianni is just like, hey, I'm going to make this work. There's a limited ceiling, and we only can go so far. But you know what? They got to the playoffs with a very bad team. Jalen Reagor sucks. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, terrible. Okay, what are we doing with this offense? It's awful. And then there's the playoffs.
Yeah,
I agree. He did a great job coaching to his talent and to their his team's ability. He tried to turn shit into gold as much as he could. Yeah, and when that guy talks, like, let's be honest, he's no silver-tongued devil. That guy is not the most eloquent, genius-sounding coach. Like, I was wondering what kind of job he'd be able to do there, but honestly, I think he deserves a little bit of credit for making it as far as he did make it. But at the end of the day, like we said, you have such a limited ceiling when you do that. You're never going to win a Super Bowl with that kind of team. So
yeah. I mean, Tampa Bay, if I had to give them a letter grade for this performance, I would give them anywhere between a B and a C. They didn't need their A grade performance.
You're giving them a B or a C because they cruised to an easy victory and took their foot off the gas in the fourth quarter.
I'll give them an A for that.
That's an A. They didn't have to try.
I agree.
Quarter.
They didn't need to have their A-plus performance to beat this Eagles team.
They did throughout the other three quarters.
I'm going to come to Josh's defense a little bit here because they didn't need the type of gaudy numbers that Tom Brady typically had throughout this season. Like, let's be honest, he had an absolutely incredible year, 5,400 yards through the air, 29 for 37, 271 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's a good day for a quarterback, but for Tom Brady, that's not Tom Brady being, the GOAT. That's just Brady doing what he needed to do to win. So in that regard, Josh, I'll say it was a B performance because they only needed a B performance, and the game plan was to do a B performance. Honestly, it was just don't make mistakes, go out there. We're the better team. Just go out there and game manage. And Tom Brady, when you're the best quarterback of all team, you're going to do that very well. And I think that's what he did in this game. But I think there's something to what you're saying, Josh. They didn't need to be the Super Bowl champion Buccaneers to beat this team the way that they did.
Right. I think when they play the Rams this coming week, they will need their A-plus performance because, spoiler alert, I don't have them beating the Rams. I think they're going home.
That's a take.
I don't know. I think it could be a competitive game that could go to the wire. I think it could go either way.
We're going to put a pin in that. We're going to circle back to it later.
Fair enough.
So to the Chiefs and Steelers?
No, we're not there yet.
Not yet. We're going in order.
We're going.
We're going to the Cowboys. Go away, Dallas Cowboys. Go away, Dallas Cowboys. Go away, Dallas Cowboys. You're not America's team. Go away.
All right. Now that we've got that out of our systems.
You're welcome, America.
Tell us how you really feel about the Dallas Cowboys.
It was a close game. I have to put it there.
Only because the San Francisco 49ers allowed it to be a close game.
Did they?
Let's talk about the one play that matters in this entire game, the ending to this game. Okay? Because throw everything else out, it really doesn't matter. But there's one play in particular I'll come back to. There's one play that matters. It's the QB draw to get them down to the 25-yard line, whatever it was.
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. And then the attempted spike that didn't happen. because the ref had to run 40 yards downfield to get where the line of scrimmage now was.
Yeah, and not only that, but a little bit of a lack of awareness by the Dallas Cowboys to not know that the ref needs to get through and spot the ball, and that your center can't spot the ball for you. People saying that's like an unfair way for the game to end for Dallas. Like, I'm sorry, but like you got to have the awareness at that point in the game to know that like you can't run a sneak in these conditions and expect them to get to the line and set the ball and do everything you need to do. To me, it was just a bad decision more than anything.
Yeah,
it was a bad play call. Apparently, they practice it, which is even more puzzling. But
what?
That's just Mike McCarthy. They practiced that play in that situation, apparently. But here's what I will say in regards to that play was dumb. They shouldn't have ran it there. And I really don't understand the logic. However, to come to the defense of the Cowboys, they have to rely on that ref to run that far away. There's not another guy closer that could have spotted the ball.
I know.
And the rule is the ref has to touch the ball. They were in, let's say, let me play devil's advocate for a moment. They were in the general vicinity, within a yard, right, of where he was down. Right?
That's true. They didn't move it much.
What's to say, hypothetically, you allow them to spike, because this is a spike situation, not running a play. You allow them to spike, then after be like, okay, they're actually 1 yard behind or where they're supposed to be, your foot just adjusted after the spike. In that situation, because of the ref running has to go so far. Allow them to spike the ball with 1 second left on the clock. Adjust the ball, because who cares at this point? It's a dead ball. They just want to clock it anyways.
I mean,
then give. I understand the rules are the rules, and we addressed the rules of the rules earlier with the Bengals.
Yep.
I'm just saying this is an alternative to a referee interfering for the second time with Dallas attempting to snap the ball in this game. Because you remember, the referee stood there going like this, and it's like they're trying to snap the ball, and you're in the fucking way, but they got a delay of game penalty because the ref had to stand there.
Yeah.
That's true.
Do you think Mark McCarthy should be held responsible for this?
They should have canned his ass the moment this game was over. This guy's a liar and a thief, okay?
He
lied in his opening press conference about watching every single one of their games. He didn't. He spent all this time hanging out with Pro Football Focus. Apparently, that was a lie, too, because I can tell you right now, even the remedial analytics of PFF would tell you don't run a QB draw in that situation. Okay?
I think he should just go to doing Whataburger commercials.
I mean,
if you guys know what that is, it's a joint.
I know what Whataburger is. I watch King of the Hill.
Yeah, I know what Whataburger is.
It's a Texas burger joint.
I
just said I know what it is.
Oh,
I know what it is. I watch King of the Hill. Come on.
Anyway,
one thing I was not impressed by in this game is the quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo. Did not impress me much, as Shania Twain would say.
Is he more impressive than Baker?
Yes.
He's still better than Baker, but that performance that he had in this game is not going to be good enough to win the next game, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's a concern for me. Also, historically, Jimmy Garoppolo has been dreadful in cold weather. And they have to go into Green Bay that next game. We're going to preview that later, so we'll put another pin in that, circle back to it later. But
okay.
Yeah, that's really my final point. It was just like I wasn't too impressed with what I saw from the 49ers in terms of going forward, but I will admit I was wrong. I thought the Dallas Cowboys were going to win this game, and they didn't.
So I'm not going to even though the 49ers won, and credit to them for doing so, I'm not letting them completely off the hook for this, because they pretty much had the Cowboys dead to rights for basically 3.5 quarters, if you will. And then kind of like Tampa Bay, but not quite, because Tampa Bay had that game won way sooner than San Fran did. But San Fran didn't put that final nail in the coffin. They let Dallas hang around. They let the Cowboys find their groove offensively and defensively, and it almost came back to bite them. And I got to hold Kyle Shanahan a little bit responsible for that. When you see that your opponent is on the run and they're on the ropes, if you will, put them away. Don't allow them to come back and almost come back all the way to win.
I mean, their offense isn't one that's going to put people away. That's what I'll say. That's not how they're constructed. Okay, and so putting the Cowboys away was just never going to happen.
I mean, that QB draw definitely seemed like a Mike McCarthy move.
I mean, it's Mike McCarthy. He's a buffoon.
In that Super Bowl he wins that he always gloats about.
He fluked his way to that Super Bowl, dude.
That was Aaron Rodgers, not him.
That was Aaron Rodgers.
That was Aaron Rodgers. That was Charles Woodson. That was Greg Jennings, the best wide receiver in all the NFL, if anyone remembers that from Madden. But
Donald Driver.
I do.
You do remember that glitch?
Oh, yeah, I remember the video. Putting his team on his back. Going to the mind of a Greg Jennings. Oh, shit, Darren Sharper. Yeah, I remember.
That name is also Baltimore, too, nowadays. Because of also off-the-field issues.
But anyways, we got the next game to go to. And, Churk, I know you've been just waiting to comment Steelers-Chiefs. You have the floor.
I'm happy, man. I'm glad the Schittsburg Steelers got what they got coming to them.
I mean, they're not good. I mean, this was the most predictable finish of any of these games this week.
It was
the Steelers having zero chance. This game kind of started off kind of weird. Neither team could do anything offensively. TJ Watt got on the scoreboard first with an incredible, defensive touchdown, giving the Pittsburgh fans a little bit of hope early on.
He's a generational talent. I think he's one of the best players on that team.
He is. It's a shame we drafted David Njoku instead of him. But imagine Myles Garrett and TJ Watt on the opposite ends of the lines. We could have just, not even bothered with this Jadeveon Clowney nonsense. But
yeah,
anyway,
we could have had even better. We could have had half the Texans roster. We could have Clowney, we could have had JJ, and we could have had TJ.
Okay, I don't know why we're even bothering with Clowney and JJ. I'm just speaking for particularly that draft. They could have just took TJ Watt instead of David Njoku and completely avoided the entire nightmare that's been his tenure with the Browns.
You think the Browns just like to mess up on drafts?
I don't think they like to. It's just their nature. They're going to. But but looking at this game, the Chiefs ran away with this game after it was close. After it was close early, after both teams were struggling early. The Chiefs scored 5 touchdowns in a matter of 10 minutes of game time. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, something like that. The Chiefs just said to the Steelers, yeah, your time is over. Go play at the kids' table.
Yeah. 5 touchdowns from Patrick Mahomes.
They put the Steelers out the pasture. They put, they essentially retired Ben Roethlisberger for us. So he's done now.
Yeah.
You can go on doing whatever he's going to do and talk about whatever he's going to talk about, but he's done now.
Yes, he is.
I agree.
Sorry about that, guys. The dog and I both had to use the bathroom. We don't have commercial breaks on StreamYard, unfortunately. So
it's all good.
Steelers Chiefs, awesome. Did you guys start talking about that one already, or?
We just talked about it being a massive. It was very predictable.
Yeah, very predictable game. Josh and I kind of talked off cam a little bit earlier today about this game, and the only thing about it is we didn't really learn much about the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. Kind of went how we thought it would go. So that's my only concern moving forward is obviously the Chiefs did some nice things. Mahomes had a phenomenal game. He limited some of the interceptions that has been a problem for him this year. But at the end of the day, they were playing the Steelers, and I don't think it was very great competition. And I don't think that we really learned anything from this game. Mahomes did great. Kelsey did great. They do great every game. We know that. So yeah, I don't have any concerns or anything from this game regarding the Chiefs. I just don't. It didn't really tell me much about what to think of them moving forward.
Yeah, the only thing I can say I learned from this game in regards to the Chiefs is that they do have a running game, because it felt like for at least the first half of the season, I didn't really see a running game from Kansas City, and I don't know if that's because they just didn't have one, or if it was because they just refused to run the ball. But I just never saw it. And in this game, I saw kind of like what I said with Buffalo, where they were very Josh Allen dependent. It feels like at times Kansas City is very Patrick Mahomes dependent.
They don't really use Clyde Edwards too much.
So I liked seeing Kansas City use the run game a little bit more. So I guess I learned kind of the same thing about Buffalo and Kansas City in that regard.
Well, in a similar fashion, what I will say is the Steelers have the worst run defense in the NFL. So it's not like the Chiefs have some good run game or a productive run game. They were able just to be effective against a very bad run defense.
Go ahead, Churk.
No, do you think Clyde Edwards is a bust on their team?
Clyde Edwards-Helaire is not a bust. He's a useful player. It's just it's a different offense.
Right.
It's a different offense.
And he's had injury issues too in the past too. So, I mean, the leading rusher was only 61 yards for McKinnon off of 12 carries, which is good, a good average. But it doesn't blow you away. That's what I meant too. Like we didn't learn much because like James said, Pittsburgh's run defense sucks. So of course they're going to run the ball pretty effectively against it. So I don't know that it really told me anything, that I didn't already know about this team.
That part I'll give you, but just based on what I had seen from the Chiefs, it felt like they never actually attempted to really establish a run game. But as you both said, Pittsburgh has a terrible run defense. But for Kansas City to have a somewhat reliable run game, that I liked that part.
Sure. So we should probably move on to the last game of the wild card weekend. For the first time, we got Monday Night Football during wild card weekend, and I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. I love that.
I did too. I think that this was a great thing that the NFL got right this season was that Monday night game was really fun. But yeah, man, a lot to be said about this one. A lot to unpack here with the Rams and Cardinals. Definitely a lot more to talk about than in that last game.
Yeah, I actually want to talk about the Cardinals, even though they lost this game. Now, as I said on TSG, I'm not going to sit up here and say this guy needs to be fired or this guy needs to be fired, whatever. I'm not here to do that. But what I will say is maybe it's time to start considering Cliff Kingsbury's role as the head coach with the Arizona Cardinals. Because
if you're not going to say it, I'll say it. They should fire his ass. Okay. Okay. His last 3 seasons,
him and McCarthy both need to go.
Look at his record the last 3 seasons over the home stretch. 2019, they lost 7 of their last 9 games. 2020, 5 of their last 7. 21, 5 of their last 6. When it comes to the end of the season after hot starts, Cliff Kingsbury can't coach a team. 17 of 22 losses that late in the season, that's terrible. If you go back to college, it's still bad too. 13, 5 of 6, 14, 4 of 6, 15, 4 of 6, 16, 6 of 8, 17, 6 of 8, 18, 5 of 5.
How would he defend
a late season coach?
Yeah, I don't think that should be.
Yeah,
and you couldn't even do it in the playoffs either.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I think that they definitely need to do something moving forward. The other thing that I found interesting about this game is the performance of Kyler Murray. Not a good game. Let's just to give you his numbers real quick. 19 to 34, 137 yards for only 4 yards per. So that's 4 yards per pass. No touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a QBR of only 7.6, and a traditional quarterback rating of only 40.9.
Josh, you said this guy was going to be the MVP earlier this season.
I looked to be on the right track early in the season, but as the Cardinals have done the past 3 years, they just fell flat on their face. I'm not going to be right about Kyler Murray winning the MVP, so I'm conceding that. I was wrong.
But you'd said that in the past.
I did. And again, I looked like I actually knew what the fuck I was talking about.
He had a good start to the year. Yeah, they were hot. America was all in on the Cardinals. A lot of people wanted to see them succeed. Kyler Murray is a very likable guy, I think. He's a phenomenal athlete. To me, one of the things that we saw this game, though, is that height matters for quarterbacks. Like height is a big factor. Like this guy's a Heisman Trophy talent. You know, he's a really talented player, but he's small. You know, and we saw a lot of balls getting tipped at the line of scrimmage. We saw him changing arm angles to try to avoid hands. And it's just a lot of stuff that really.
And his style's not like Russell Wilson, where like how he goes through the holes and like tries to find a pass. He has a whole different style than Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And in terms of running the ball, he only ran it twice for 6 yards. So, you know, he wasn't a threat with his legs that game either. So it's like, I don't know.
I think you should watch some Fran Tarkington tapes. That could help.
That's not relevant in modern football.
Yeah,
but what I will say is that he is athletic enough to make plays with his legs. I believe he had some sort of like lower body injury that was limiting him in that capacity.
That's true.
So that was not helping him. But he didn't look good at all. And I will say not having DeAndre Hopkins did not do him any favors. That mattered. But that pick six he threw that was like on par with some of the worst pick sixes I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That was a total just bad play. I mean, you never want to take a safety, but you should have took the safety.
Yeah.
You're better off taking a safety in that situation 100%.
That felt, given how their season finished, that felt so Arizona Cardinals.
That's what
I agree with that. That was a very Arizona Cardinals way to lose and go out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other team in this game. Let's talk about Rams.
Before we go,
yes,
who wins
talk
Super
about
Bowl
the Rams
first, Cardinals or Browns?
Neither.
Yeah, I don't know that either one of us.
Either's going to happen in our lifetime.
Probably not. It hasn't happened yet. I don't imagine that it's going to happen anytime soon.
Anyway, let's
talk about the Rams, though, because my pick for MVP played for that team, Matt Stafford. Let's talk about
Stafford had himself one heck of a game.
Yes, he did.
While the Cardinals decided to completely flop, the Rams decided to show up and show that they're actually here, despite everyone tried to write them off coming into the playoffs. They were like, okay, we're here. We're a really good team. We're going to show you what's up. And they did.
Heck, even Odell had a good game.
He did have a good game.
I think it shows who wasn't the problem in Cleveland.
It wasn't Odell. We knew that.
It wasn't Odell. It was the fit of Odell.
No, it wasn't the fit of the Odell.
He didn't fit.
Execution.
No, this is some bullshit that's been making its way on Twitter the past couple of days. It's not the fit, okay? It's Baker. It's 100% Baker.
Okay? Ding, ding, ding.
Weren't they friends too?
Not the offense. Is it the best match? No. Okay, I will say that, but it's not the fit. This is just some passing the buck bullshit that's being generated by the Baker Bros on Twitter. Not having it. It's complete horse shit.
Yeah. I could not agree with you more, James, if I tried. But the part
conversely, his QBR 82.6 and 154.5, which is about close to perfect. So Stafford threw himself almost a perfect game as well. He only had 4 completions as well.
You mean incompletions?
That's what I meant. He had 4 incompletions on the day. So 2 touchdowns, no INTs. There are a lot of question marks about Matt Stafford and can he win in the postseason? And I think that he answered that question quite effectively. I thought that was a very big statement game for the Rams. I thought that we saw a lot of good things from that team, and I think that they're a legitimate threat to come out of the NFC.
Yes. And can we talk about the fact that Cam Akers was able to overcome I think it was an Achilles injury, like a torn Achilles or something?
Yeah.
And he was able to come back within, I think it was 6 months?
Yeah, he didn't have a great game. Right. He didn't have a really great game, but his story and his comeback was really impressive. Like to come back off of an Achilles injury that quick was just impressive on its own. But yes, he only averaged 3.2 yards a carry. He had a long of 15 yards. So
That's
enough
for what the Rams do, though.
Yeah, in this case, it was for sure. It was all according to the game plan. I think that game went exactly like from an offensive standpoint. They executed exactly how they wanted all game.
Yeah.
So from an offensive standpoint, And the defense too showed up in a big way too. They made some big plays. So I think that's the question: is can this defense, make big plays when it matters? Can guys like Von Miller show that they still can be productive on the biggest stage at the biggest moments?
And he can.
Yeah, because you know what they say: big players make big plays at big moments or big games.
It's close enough. But
it's close enough. Yeah.
He had his first postseason sack since their Super Bowl win. So
yes.
Kudos to Von Miller. One quick thing about Mr. Odell Beckham Jr. He made some history in this game. First player ever with a 30-yard reception and a 30-yard pass completion in NFL history. Quite impressive. The pass completion did go for 40 yards. He did finish with 4 for 54 and a touchdown in this game.
Yeah, he's a freak. He's one of the only people in NFL history that can do what this has always been a part of his game. They've always had gadget plays for him as a quarterback. He has a great arm. Obviously, he's a very, very smart football player. He has a very high football IQ, which a lot of people refuse to acknowledge because they don't like him. He knows the game of football.
They just disregard it as freelancing because
and not only that,
Baker can't do no wrong.
Exactly. But not only that, but this dude, if they need a kicker, he could kick a 50-yard field goal. Obviously he's not going to do it reliably, and it's different to do it in a game. But this dude hits 50-yard bombs during pregame warmups. He's out there, he's kicking 50-yarders, he's throwing the ball 60 yards down the field. Guy is just
you said Odell's kicking 50-yarders?
Odell kicking 50.
Why couldn't we use him as the kicker?
He wanted to. He is.
Were the Browns just too stubborn to try something unique?
He's not a real option for that.
Yes, he is. I'm sorry. The Browns kickers are so bad. I would rather have him.
The Browns, what they had as the kicker this season was still better what you're going to get out of Odell.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
Yeah,
the point is just the only point I was making about that is
how hardworking he is.
No, it's just how good of an athlete he is. He can do things that other human beings cannot do. And the thing that a lot of people in Cleveland were saying was that he was washed. And to say that this guy is washed, get out of here.
Get out of here with that bullshit.
He's one of the best athletes in all sports right now, period. Anywhere in the world, in any sport. So I think that he really showed at the end of the season and in this game that he's nowhere near being done. He is still very much in his prime.
Yes, 100%. You even saw some of his former teammates here in Cleveland giving him some praise. A lot of them.
Baker?
One specific player did not say anything.
Baker?
I believe he wears number 6 here.
Yeah, he was mum.
I know a lot of people complaining on the internet about, everyone talking about Odell this, Odell that, trying to say it's a broken relationship and stuff it's all nonsense. It really is. Odell's fantastic. He's always going to be fantastic. And the one thing I'll say is if you're going to try and compare it to a relationship that no longer exists, at least get your facts right, because I saw a lot of incorrect statistics out there and numbers and just get your stuff right if you're going to do that.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. What I did like from the Rams offensively is, in addition to utilizing Cam Akers, although he didn't have the greatest game in the world, I still like that they did utilize him to the extent that they did. They didn't rely on any one receiver. They didn't become Cooper Kupp centric. They didn't become Odell centric. I saw them pass Stafford giving it to Tyler Higbee. I saw Stafford giving it to Odell, to Cooper Kupp, and they were spreading the wealth around. So I loved that about the Rams offense.
Yeah. And one last point about Odell too is a lot of people who aren't very educated will be quick to say that, he's way more active in their offense and what have you. He was only targeted 4 times. Mm-hmm. He was only targeted 4 times. He's a very small part of a very big part of that offense, but in the grand scheme of things, he's not touching the ball a crazy amount of times like a Tyreek Hill or some of these other guys. He was targeted 4 times. He caught the ball all 4 times he was targeted for 54 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he had a perfect game.
I mean, you see some charlatans on the internet try to be like, the only thing he did is touchdowns. Well, touchdowns fucking matter. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay? And role in offense matters. Okay. He's not the primary pass target in the offense.
No.
It's Cooper Kupp.
Right.
Taylor Higbee might even be a more of a consistent option for that passing offense than Odell is.
He had 4 targets as well, so yeah.
If Robert Woods was still there, he would be up there as well.
Mhm.
Robert Woods would be ahead of him if he was still
I
healthy.
agree. Yep.
You look at it, he's producing when called upon and he's scoring touchdowns. Okay.
Exactly.
Right.
He had 6 touchdowns in 9 games with the Rams. He had 0 with the Browns this season. Okay.
The other thing I like too is when they are using Odell, like he's playing in the X position that he needs to be playing in. The Browns a lot of time would move him around and have him playing out of position or different style of wide receiver. No, the Rams are letting Odell be Odell. He's an X and he's playing like an X and it's working to perfection. And anybody that's saying that his performance in Cleveland was all, to do with him, it's just nonsense. I think that he's answered a lot of questions that we had here in Cleveland, some of us anyway, but
yeah. Again, charlatans.
Yep, that's it. That's a very good word to describe them, but
Charlatans.
Yes.
yeah.
Would you
Anyway,
say Baker fans are charlatans?
a lot of them.
I'm not going to say Baker fans are charlatans, but I'll say people that are.
Or Mike McCarthy fans?
No, I'm saying that people that are just not blaming Baker and trying to blame everyone but him are charlatans.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
It's about accountability. Baker was not accountable for
Right.
what happened. I mean, hold him accountable for the failures of the offense because it's all
Odell was nothing but a scapegoat, and
Exactly.
everybody they've tried to use everybody on the roster as a scapegoat, but Baker. And
I
at
mean,
the end
you
of the
weren't
day,
getting a fully healthy Odell during that time.
Yeah, I mean, there's some arguments to be made there too that like he wasn't fully healthy and that's why he wasn't as productive. But to me, it was just that Baker just was not working. He just couldn't get the ball to him. Like he's not good. It's hard to put it on anything else now other than the fact that Baker's not good enough.
I mean, so many people were clinging to the hopes that Odell being removed from this offense was something going to lock everything again. But as we saw, last season was a complete lie. It was a fluke. It's not real.
Right.
It's not repeatable.
Yep.
It was just a complete independent set of games that happened to make him look better than what he actually was.
Yeah.
Yep.
And removing Odell again isn't just some magic fix. Okay.
I agree.
It's complete horseshit, and we saw this year. He actually performed worse when Odell was removed this year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But
right.
let's move on. We have divisional round games to talk about.
Yes, we do.
Yep.
We're gonna do it the same way. Let's just go. We're gonna go right in chronological order as they're happening this weekend. So what do we got first? We got Bengals versus Titans. That's the Saturday 4:00 game.
I'm putting the Titans.
Titans are favored, but Bengals to the Super Bowl.
No Bengals to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, but that Ohio team, it better be the Browns to win it before the Bengals do.
Tennessee is 3.5-point favorites at home. I like Tennessee to win and cover.
I agree with you there. I think the Cincinnati ride story, it all ends here. It's fun. It's exciting. It's a team that has a lot of offense, a lot of bright future ahead of them.
Comeback player of the year in Joe Burrow too. Get that guy.
100%.
Get that guy.
Yeah, I agree.
Comeback player of the year, great.
Jamar Chase.
This season was cute, but I think now is the time for it to come to its very much expected end.
Yes, I agree.
If Cincinnati loses, I will come on here next week and admit that I was wrong, and I'll let you guys do your victory laps.
Yeah, that's how it works,
Yeah. Hey, I got to do my victory lap on you guys today, so maybe next week you'll get to return the favor.
Well, let me talk about
one once in a while.
One of the things that I mentioned earlier that I'm really big on this postseason is quarterback play, and that's the one area of concern that I have with this Tennessee Titans team is that if Derrick Henry, God forbid, goes down with an injury in pregame warmups or in one of the earlier drives of the game, like he's going to have to win that game for them, and I don't know if he's capable of doing it. So, this game is very much riding on the back of Derrick Henry and his performance. So I will say that. But also defensively, I think that the Titans are way better than the Bengals. Their offensive line, the Bengals offensive line is trash. So
coaching goes to Titans too.
I just give them the edge in pretty much every category outside of Joe Burrow being the better quarterback.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And the running game is also pretty equal.
Derrick Henry is miles above Joe Mixon. Let's not even compare the two.
Yeah,
but if you want to give the Bengals another advantage, I'll get wide receivers.
Yeah. On and off the field with Joe Mixon.
What about Joe Mixon?
On and off the field.
I don't like Joe Mixon.
I don't either. That's why I just said that.
But it's a good point. Tennessee's leading receiver, A.J. Brown, he only had 63 catches and 869 yards. Those aren't gaudy numbers by any means. So Jamar Chase on the other end of things, 81 catches for 1,455 yards and 13 touchdowns. What a freak.
He's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah, but I think that this is the end of the road, unfortunately, for the Bengals. But Joey Burrow, comeback player of the year, great season in Cincinnati. I think they've got a lot to be excited about moving forward, but they've got some moves to make if they want to make it to the next level.
Let me ask you this. We all agree that Joe Burrow is going to win, should be the favorite to win comeback player of the year. Do you think, I know he's not going to win MVP, but do you think he should at least be in the conversation?
I don't know. Put him at. I don't know how far it goes for MVP. I don't know how far the rankings go, like 5 or 10. But he probably should be in the 5 to 10 range.
Yeah,
I would agree with that. I mean, when you look at the year that Brady and Rodgers have had, like it's really hard.
Mahomes got to be in the conversation too.
Mahomes as well, yeah. Like the numbers are just outrageous that they've put up.
TJ Watt's also in the conversation. He tied the sack record, so he's going to be in the conversation.
Well, he was my pick for defensive MVP this year. I think that we can seal that one. So
yeah, I think
Myles Garrett or TJ Watt.
TJ Watt. He was my preseason pick for.
Yeah,
TJ Watt.
I was right. I was being impartial. See,
I love TJ Watt, but
this is the thing. This is why James and I get called wet blankets a lot, and it's because we try to be objective and look at things the way they are. When I looked at things in the preseason, it was TJ Watt's a freak, and I think that in that Pittsburgh Steelers defense, he's going to have a way more productive year than Myles Garrett, who pretty much only sacks quarterbacks and isn't really involved in the run game. So I made what I thought to be a.
All right, let's look at this.
Yeah, I don't.
Looking at Myles Garrett's stats right now. Let's pull these.
They're not even close, bro. It's not even.
It's not even. It's not even competition.
Pro Football Reference here.
He has the NFL record for sacks this year too.
Yeah,
so,
he had a combined 51 tackles.
Who?
Myles Garrett, which is actually pretty good for a defensive end.
Okay, well, TJ Watt had half of that in just sacks.
Yeah.
TJ Watt it's not even a question. TJ Watt is the defensive player of the year. I don't even remember who I had as my preseason pick. I'd have to go back and watch, but
yeah. And the one good moment of that game for the Steelers was TJ Watt ripping that ball away and running it into the end zone. As bad as that team is, he still showed up and made a big play. And that's not easy. That's not easy to do.
64 total tackles. 21 of them were for loss, 39 quarterback hits. I mean, 52 pressures. 52 pressures.
All-time great numbers for a year.
Yes.
And not just because of the 18th game either. I believe he sat out a game or two, didn't he?
He missed games.
Yeah.
He would have had that record clear and just not even close if he would have played every single one of their games.
And let's not forget that 22 and a half sack for Strahan came to Brett Favre basically taking a knee. So there's a lot of controversy surrounding his last sack of the year anyway. So I know a lot of people were writing off TJ Watt and saying, well, he had 18 games and that's not fair and what have you.
He didn't play all the games. He exited several games early. If he would have played all 17 games, every single snap or as much as he could have, he would have played away 30.
He could have 30.
Yeah.
But TJ Watt, defensive player of the year, it's not even close. Myles Garrett, great season. But he's a pass rusher.
Yeah.
TJ Watt is an edge linebacker. It's completely different. He's going to be more involved in the running game as well as being a pass rusher. It's not the same.
100% sign, seal, and deliver the defensive player of the year to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for TJ Watt. No doubt about it. Hands down.
We're already talking. Yeah, let's move on.
TJ Watt.
Yeah.
But Bengals, Titans, I think we got all of our picks locked in here.
Yes.
There's only one Bengals, right?
I'm going Bengals. I don't know.
Are you picking the Bengals or the Titans?
Titans.
Okay, so everybody's on the Titans except for you, Josh.
I know. I'm on an island. Hey, I'm going against the spread this time, Bryan.
Yeah.
I wanted Cincinnati in college to win, not Cincinnati in NFL.
Oh, I didn't want them to win in college either. But let's
Yeah.
go to the next game.
I know you
49ers,
deep down
Packers.
did, James.
49ers, Packers.
Packers all day.
Packers.
It's
Packers.
Packers.
What are we doing here? They got Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And
The
you
only
got
thing stopping the Packers is Aaron Rodgers doing weird Aaron Rodgers things, which he's been prone to do this season.
Although Aaron Rodgers is known for choking in the playoffs, though.
He has not beaten the 49ers in the playoffs yet.
Yeah, so
That
It
is
was
possible.
so long ago. No, like those teams are, it was
They
a
don't
while
matter
ago.
anymore.
They
they,
don't matter.
they
Right.
lost against them in the AFC or NFC Championship in 20.
It's the same, right? But it's the same thing as we were talking about earlier. Like when the Philadelphia Super Bowl team is not the same team as the team now, and it's the same thing here. It's like those teams that Rodgers went up against in San Fran are not the same team that he's going to be going up against this week.
Yeah, I understand that. I just thought that was an important stat to put out there anyway, that he has not beaten the 49ers in the playoffs, just as a general thing.
Right. And we got to remember, this is in Green Bay
Yeah.
in January. It's cold. Garoppolo stinks in the cold. This is just, it could not be a worse matchup for San Francisco, in my opinion. Like,
They're going to have to throw the ball. And San Francisco throwing the ball is not a good combination. Jimmy Garoppolo is not a play-from-behind type quarterback.
He
simply
isn't.
Right. No.
If you got to throw with Jimmy Garoppolo, you're in a bad spot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think San Francisco can keep this game close, though. But Green
Oh,
Bay.
I don't. This is going to be a complete blowout. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to put the boots to the 49ers.
Do you eat the 50 burger?
He might. I don't know about 50.
Maybe.
I could see like some 42-17 final score here.
Yeah.
Just Aaron Rodgers being like, yeah, I had a nice little week off. I'm still here. I'm still good. Watch all of my insurance commercials so I can get some more money. And I'm the quarterback in the commercials that people like.
Mhm.
Me and Mahomes.
Yeah, the over-under is at 47. Green Bay might cover that by themselves.
You think Jimmy G has good commercials?
What
You
about
said
Jimmy
what,
G?
Kurt?
Think he could have any good commercials?
No.
No, I don't care.
Is he even that much of a personality? He seems kind of bland.
He's handsome.
Yeah.
Besides that,
they call him
He's a
Jimmy
handsome
G
devil.
for a reason.
besides that, does he have a personality?
I don't know.
I don't think he needs one.
Just call him Jimmy GQ and let him bang some porn stars. That's all he
Yeah.
does.
That's pretty much him.
That was fun.
More power to him, too. God bless you. What a life.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on. Do we want to go right to the Rams versus Bucks? I don't know if anybody really has more to say about that game. Everybody's
yeah.
on the Green Bay train.
I mean, that one I think is a 50-50 game.
Oh, Rams Buccaneers? Is that
No.
what we're going to?
Yep. Rams Bucks.
Fine. Go away, Tampa Bay. Go away, Tampa Bay. Go away, Tampa Bay. You're going to lose to the Rams. Goodbye.
Now that we got that out of the way,
Can I invoke Robert's Rules of Order and suggest a ban of that song? Anyone want to say?
thank you.
Moratorium on singing.
Second. Let's take this to a vote. Ban of that song forever. Okay.
Fine.
It is in. Okay.
He would have raised his hand. I knew it.
So you think the Rams are going to win? Is that what you're saying, Josh?
Yes.
Okay. I've got the Bucks in a really close one here.
I also have the Bucks. I think this is gonna be a hell of a game. This is the game I'm most excited to watch. Is this one?
Same.
It's this one. This one's the game. I had to think about it for a second. This one I'm most excited to watch. Rams Bucks. I think it's gonna be a really good game. It's Tom fucking Brady. I mean,
Yes. What are we doing?
what are we doing? And until Tom Brady is not playing quarterback, it's hard to pick against Tom Brady. So
Tom Brady won a Super Bowl last year. And I think for some weird reason, when he wins a Super Bowl, the next season he doesn't.
He has repeated as
He's repeated before, and
Yeah,
that's
I know
one of
he
the
has,
hardest
but I don't
things.
feel like it's the time.
Well, it's one of the hardest things to do in all sports, repeat a Super Bowl champion. So you do have a point there. It's hard to repeat, but this is a guy who time and time and time again, people have said he can't do this forever. He can't do this forever. And he just keeps doing it. And he's 44 years old now. And like you said, he just won a Super Bowl again last year. So until somebody dethrones this guy, I'm not going to pick against him.
It's hard to. I mean, even you look, his receiving core has been decimated, and he's still producing. I mean, no Antonio Brown, no Chris Godwin. Mike Evans finally looks like Mike Evans again because of those guys being gone.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of refueled him a little bit. It recharged him, I should say.
Yeah, and so Mike Evans is going to be like good Mike Evans again. If that's the case, then teams are in trouble.
Big trouble. Because that's a guy that is just like he could be one of the most physically dominant receivers in the game. When he's into it and he's playing at the top of his game, like Mike Evans is a freak.
Here's what
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, that duo right there, it's unstoppable.
Yeah,
and Gronk, I mean,
Brady's won bigger games than this with less. So that's why I'm picking Brady here.
Is OJ Howard any relevant?
Wide receiver 1. So I mean,
right.
So Bryan, I'll give you that one. That yes, I will acknowledge that Brady has won bigger games than this with less. I'll give you that. But I just think the Rams have a little too much firepower, and they have a defensive line where if Tristan Wirfs and Ryan Jensen are out for the Buccaneers on that offensive line, that's going to create major problems for the Buccaneers. And they're without Leonard Fournette. I think they might be without Ronald Jones as well. Don't quote me on that one. But I want to say he's
questionable.
Okay.
Questionable.
So they could be without Ronald Jones.
Right.
We know they're without Chris Godwin. We know they're without Antonio Brown and all his shenanigans. Normally I don't doubt Tom Brady. Normally I do not. But this is one of those times I'm going to go against him. And I think I have valid reason for going against him in this case.
The only players listed as out who could possibly play this week are Cyril Grayson Jr., who I've never heard of, and Ronald Jones, the running back. Okay. Everyone else has been limited practice or did not practice or full practice. And the only ones you really need to pay attention to are do not practice. And the only two guys that really didn't practice are those two, Tom Brady, who never practices, and Steve McClendon. Okay. Everyone else pretty much practiced in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
So if they can go, they're going to go.
We have Tampa Bay as 3-point favorites at home. Over-under is at 48.5.
I'm taking the over on that one. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Give me the over. Give me the Bucks. Fire the cannons. Let's go.
I'm with you. I like Bucks to cover and the over. But yeah, to compare these offenses, two high-powered offenses, 386.8 yards a game of offense for the Rams, 415 for the Buccaneers, 27 points a game for the Rams, 30 points a game for the Buccaneers. A lot of points going to be scored. Yes.
I understand that the regular season and postseason are two very different things, so you can't take too much stock from their regular season meeting. Plus, it was early in the season. But I do think it showed that the Rams can hang with the Buccaneers.
I mean, sure, a hang with is one thing. Winning in the postseason is completely different.
Sure.
Right. And I don't think they can. I think the game will be close. I think it'll be entertaining. I still, Bucks and the over is what I'm taking.
And on the opposite end of things, like I was saying about Brady, until he doesn't do it, I'm going to ride with Brady. Well, on the other end of things, until Stafford does do it, I'm not going to ride with Stafford.
Last week was his first career playoff win.
Right, and until he proves that he can take that team to a Super Bowl, I'm going with Tom Brady. To me, it's just obvious, but
it really is.
Yeah. Well, do we have any last thoughts on that game, or do we want to get to the other really good game? We got Bills and Chiefs coming up.
Let's go Bills Chiefs.
Let's do it.
The rematch of the AFC Championship of last season.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Bills.
You're going Bills. I'm going Bills as well. I picked the Bills preseason to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, so I'm going to ride with them.
I know they're the underdogs in this game by Vegas odds and probably by real odds, but that's the more reason to love them.
The Chiefs are only 1.5-point favorites.
Really?
So, yeah, it's tight.
Before the season started, I picked the Super Bowl rematch, so I got to pick the Chiefs here. I'm sticking with my pick, sticking with integrity here. I picked Bucks, Chiefs rematch, Bucks winning the Super Bowl again, so I got to pick the Chiefs here.
Yeah. I'm picking the Chiefs as well.
And with the same logic in mind, because I picked the Bills preseason to make the Super Bowl, I'm going with the Bills, but I saw a lot of very good things out of Kansas City. I would not be surprised whatsoever if Mahomes goes off and they win this game easy, but I still think that the Bills win a close one in a very exciting game here.
Yes.
I mean, it's very possible. I mean, Josh Allen was great last week, but we still know Josh Allen is still prone to the occasional Josh Allen moment where it's just like, what the hell did you just do?
He does have those moments where – and if
like,
it comes at the wrong time, it could be very costly.
It's disastrous. It's what it is. And I love Josh Allen. Josh Allen supporter from day one. Before he was even drafted. I was a big Josh Allen guy, so still going to support Josh Allen, even though he's going against Bryan, our birthday brother, and Patrick Mahomes.
And you know who could have drafted Josh Allen but didn't?
The Browns.
Yeah,
the Browns,
of course.
Why?
We took Baker Mayfield.
We could have drafted Patrick Mahomes too, but we didn't.
And I still regret saying. I regret the fact I used to believe Sam Darnold was the guy. I don't know why I thought Sam Darnold was the guy back then.
Yeah, I'm
glad I was never on that trade. Never on the Sam Darnold.
But I have to admit that was my mind at that point in time.
Yeah, it's funny though. A lot of the comparisons being made now, like Josh Allen being what we thought Carson Wentz was when he was kind of going off. I think that Josh Allen would love to win this game and be able to separate himself a little bit from that comparison, because I don't think that's a comparison he likes one bit. But it's one that's until he really wins something big, it's not really that unreasonable a comparison.
Yeah,
to be fair.
Much like I was saying earlier. The reason I'm picking Kansas City is just because I think Buffalo, they developed a run. They showed me a run game last week, but I still think they're too Josh Allen dependent. And I think you just can't do that against Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kansas City is just too diverse on offense. They have too much firepower for Buffalo to come out and be quarterback dependent.
And it looks like the weather for the game too. They're not anticipating any precipitation or anything crazy like that.
This is at Kansas City or
toughest. I mean, arguably the toughest place to play in the NFL. Like the place is insanely loud, hard to operate your offense in that building. Very hard to operate.
I'm pretty sure it's the loudest outdoor stadium.
Yeah, they set like the Guinness record for decibels in an outdoor stadium or something.
They broke the record set by, at the time, CenturyLink Field.
The Seahawks before, right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's right.
Now it's called Lumen Field. But anyway, with this, they met in the regular season. Buffalo kicked Kansas City's ass in that game. But again, it's the regular season. That was early on. Kansas City didn't really have their offensive identity because they were still trying to figure out how to deal with this new look that Tampa Bay brought on them last year in the Super Bowl of the too high safety look and taking away the big plays. So I don't think you really saw who Kansas City was in that game against Buffalo in the regular season. Now you're seeing who the real Kansas City is.
I mean, as we saw, they just once they get going, they're impossible to stop. And so, I mean, it's very possible that, we just see that carry over into this game. The Chiefs' offense is electric. It's explosive. Insert adjective here for what their offense is. Okay. It's just, it's a very hard offense to stop. The Bills are the same way though. So, I mean, fireworks. That's why
he had a very good game the last time they played too. 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions for Josh Allen. So he has played big for the Bills against the Chiefs. So he's going to need to play big in this one. And Mahomes is going to need to play better because he did have the 2 interceptions in that game against Buffalo earlier in the year that proved to be crucial. So Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I think at the end of the day, whichever quarterback has a better game, I could see winning this one.
Yeah.
So I think that does it for our divisional round preview.
We have made all of our picks. Everybody has picked every game. Yep.
We have. All right.
Basketball time?
Not yet. We got a little Brown stuff to clean up. Then we got some NBA stuff. Baker Mayfield had his shoulder surgery today. So, get well, whatever. Hopefully,
prayers for Baker.
Continuing.
Not just for his injury, but for right here too, because he got too much ego.
I mean, that's true.
Baker's ego is not his amigo.
And not that's bad that he has an ego. It's bad that he doesn't use it properly. He misuses it.
You want to talk about ego?
Misused ego right there.
I don't know what.
Your ego is not your amigo.
They need an adult at quarterback is what they need.
That's what they need. I agree with that.
You think Baker's just a big kid?
Yep.
Crybaby.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm just tired of the whining. It's like so many excuses and so much whining and everything. It's just like.
You think if a cop was on the field, that might help?
Oh, Jesus.
What?
Remember that video?
Right.
I know what you're talking about, but let's set this up for the worst transition of all time. Malik McDowell got arrested.
Whoa.
Nice segue. That was a very
fantastic.
Yeah.
That was a good segue.
He was in Florida. He was naked by a school. Then he fought the police and then resisted arrest.
Not a good.
Is there a video?
There's a video. You go and search and find it.
Yeah.
But did not look good. His time in Cleveland is over.
Yep.
Pretty much officially.
100%.
I feel bad for the guy because he's got a pattern. This is like the first time he's done something and ended up getting arrested. He was in prison before the Browns signed him. Okay.
Yeah. He spent 6 months there.
He was drafted in 2017 in the second round. This was the first year he actually played in the NFL. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel bad for him as a person, but man, just they can't continue having him on the roster.
Was he so basically he that does not sound good. I mean, if he was doing some public indecency, then I don't think he was likely sober during that time.
Who knows if he was or if he wasn't, but either way.
I mean, even if he was sober, then there's mental issues at that point.
Either way, none of this is a good look. So McDowell's time here is done.
Yeah.
And here's the fact of the matter is that like he was already on his last chance when he came here. Not to quote my own Twitter here, but I tweeted about this yesterday. It was a quote from Malik McDowell at the beginning of the season. It says, "I told the Browns how much I wanted it and how much I wouldn't let them down, giving me this opportunity, even though I've had chance after chance. And this being my last chance and everything, you all giving me this opportunity, I won't make you look bad." And here we are.
Yeah.
So if it is a mental issue, if it is a substance abuse issue, there is a pattern there. I hope he gets the help that he needs. But the fact of the matter is it's not an excuse. It's if it's a mental issue, that's different. If he has a mental diagnosis, but if it's an addiction issue, like he's had opportunities to get right. Cleveland gave him a very good chance. Yeah.
Either way, it's a mental issue.
Sure. But at what level does it become? You still have to be accountable for your actions.
Exactly.
Yeah, at that point, I don't think he should be playing football. I think he should be getting some
help. That's where we're kind of at with this. That's what we're at.
I think these guys
you probably need some help.
When you get that much money,
but what money? He hasn't made any money.
You're in the NFL.
He didn't make real money.
Not like superstar money, no.
He was a second-round draft pick, which has a substantial drop-off from a first-round draft pick. He was like a mid-second round, I think, at that. And then his contract this year with the Browns was for $660,000. Take out taxes, it's probably like, $300,000? That's before agents and spending. He's probably got like, I don't know, a couple $100,000 in the bank, but it's not like he's got like Patrick Mahomes fuck you money.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
It's some money to live off of for like the next year or two, but it's not like he's set for life.
$100,000 that could be set for life if you use it properly.
No, what century is this?
This is
What
also a guy.
century is this?
Yeah.
I mean, he could just. Here in Ohio, he could find some place. I think that there were some homes that were like 52,000.
Okay, so you paid $50,000 for the house. That's half of your money gone already. That's before spending on bills, food, any other fun luxuries, and then that's before property tax and all other fun stuff. You've probably got like 10 grand left to play with at best.
And not to mention legal fees. The guy's been in a lot of trouble in the past. He has a high-powered lawyer who he's been paying for a long time because he's needed a lawyer. So a lot of his money has been going through his legal team, unfortunately. And that's where I'm just not giving him the benefit of the doubt here, is because, look, like I empathized with him. I'm a person in recovery. I am an alcoholic. I have 5 years in recovery now. But
showing your stuff, that's just a whole different story.
Right, but at the end of the day, you become accountable for your actions. Once you're aware of what your problem is and you've acknowledged that you have that problem, you become accountable now for your actions moving forward. And that statement that I read, the reason I read that is because he was acknowledging as he signed with the Browns, look, I know I have a history of getting into trouble. I appreciate you guys giving me a chance. I'm not going to let you down. He had the opportunity. Right, so the Browns gave him a very, very, very good second chance that a lot of teams probably weren't willing to give him. And that's why I'm saying, look, you got to hold yourself accountable at this point, bud.
Yeah, just stay at home and watch some Tubi or Netflix or something instead of doing that. Man.
Anything. You got to know yourself. You got to know yourself and your limitations.
Well, they don't even drug test anymore. He could smoke weed.
Yeah, I mean, that's neither here nor there. But the point of the matter is
better than doing what this is.
The point of the matter is if he is a drug addict, if he is an alcoholic, like he's been made aware that, like, look, we want to help you, and he's been given the opportunity to get that help, and he's chosen to not. So at the end of the day, he's making adult decisions. Right, he's making adult decisions, and they're very poor ones, and he's got to hold himself accountable at the end of the day.
Correct.
He doesn't deserve to play for the Browns anymore, and he no longer is playing for the Browns anymore. So, not a great way to start the Browns offseason.
No, but here's some potential optimism for you.
What's that?
Rank your top 3 positions the Browns need to address this offseason.
Quarterback.
Wide receiver.
Quarterback, defensive tackle.
Wide receiver.
Linebacker.
You went defensive tackle and linebacker. Okay.
Wide receiver.
Okay, I said 3. You've gone 4. I said 3.
And in that case, let me restart. Quarterback.
There's 1.
Defensive tackle.
There's 2.
And a kicker.
That's 3.
That's bizarre. Josh.
That's not bizarre.
All right, ready? Quarterback. Done.
You're choosing the other guy in the newsroom first intro strategy with freedom there. Bryan.
My guess was quarterback, wide receiver, and either a defensive line or defensive back, another safety maybe.
Yeah, I'm at 3. I would probably say defensive line. Just defensive line, period. Okay, because defensive tackle, defensive end, they need help. Okay,
that's where you get the most value too, and that
is there. Whether trades, free agency, they need to do something, especially because they had such terrible defensive tackle play this year. And if you would like to see a wonderful discussion, go check out my Twitter feed from earlier today. I got to the very, very engaging conversation with some moron who understands nothing about the defensive tackle position and value and numbers, and it's very fun. So defensive tackle, defensive end, I'm grouping them together as defensive line.
Yeah.
Quarterback is number 2 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because they need help. I don't know if they're going to do the big swing. That's why I'm putting it at 2 and not 1, because 1 needs to be wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Because I love Jarvis Landry. I don't know if he's going to be here. That's something we have to acknowledge.
Jarvis seems like he's still productive and he does what he does, but like he's not having the Pro Bowl numbers he used to.
Well, part of that's because of the quarterback. That's a very large function of why his numbers are down.
Okay.
He has a very high salary, a very low dead cap number, if any. Right. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. But there's a way for them to shed like $14 million in salary by getting rid of him this offseason, which seems possible. If you follow certain people on Twitter, seems like something that's been in the making for years now. But you don't know if he's going to be back. Rashard Higgins cannot be back. So that leaves you with Donovan Peoples-Jones and Anthony Schwartz as your wide receivers, and that's not NFL.
Can't have it. Can't have it.
Anthony Schwartz, no,
Anthony Schwartz was terrible. He was awful.
You
Okay,
guys aren't giving him a chance. He's just a rookie.
He's fast, and that's it.
he can't
fast.
track the ball. We had
That's
this
it.
conversation post-draft, Churk. If you
You
remember,
know what I'm looking up right now, right?
go ahead and look it up, and I'll explain to you the conversation we had 8 months ago, and that was he
Ooh.
can't track the ball in the air. Okay,
Ooh.
me and
Only
you, we had this
135
conversation
yards,
on
one
this show.
touchdown.
On our radio show, we had this conversation about his failures as a receiver, and he can't track the ball in the air. And that's what we saw this season. He's not a good tracker of the ball in the air.
Maybe Hollywood Higgins?
Hollywood Higgins should not be back.
No.
It's time to end this. It's ridiculous.
When
Yeah.
we want to talk players that are potentially washed, there's one we could talk about.
Yeah.
So Hollywood Higgins?
Yeah. Okay, if you want my real list, I'll give you that. I was just trying to be funny by saying quarterback. That's how much I don't like Baker Mayfield anymore. But in all seriousness, my list is very similar to yours, James. I just have quarterback 1, wide receiver 2, and then I would also agree. I would go more instead of defensive line. I have a couple concerns about our offensive line, so I would want the Browns to address those.
I mean, that's fair. This offensive line could be a unit in transition this year. It seems like Wyatt Teller could be gone. Not Wyatt Teller. I'm sorry. J.C. Treader could be gone next year. There's also an out in Jack Conklin's contract, which gives the Browns more flexibility. That can be exercised as well. Jedrick Wills was not very good this year. He's really at best a league average tackle. So we don't know what his long-term future is either. So that could be a position group in transition. But I imagine if they don't have Treaders, their starting is going to be Nick Harris. Okay.
I mean, with Jedrick, I would give him more time. I think he could be better.
He can be better, sure, but at what point do you say the guy gets hurt too much and he's just a liability? Because
Right.
After like the 4th or 5th season.
You can't wait that long. You know within a year. In fact, coaches know within the first practice whether the guy is actually worth a damn or not. Okay.
Yeah.
Why we draft him so high?
All it takes is one practice for a coaching staff and a teammates to know whether a guy's worth a shit. That's all it takes.
But sometimes they could be deceived.
That's not how that works. Those
That's
guys
really not how it works
practice.
most of the time.
How do you tell someone has injury problems if they perform well during
No,
that practice?
performance-wise, not injury problem. Performance-wise, they know whether they got it or not in the first practice.
Right.
Yep. 100%.
But James, I don't disagree with you about defensive line. I think that also definitely needs some work because other than Myles Garrett, who do we really have? I just feel like
Jadeveon Clowney.
He's going to get himself a nice, wonderful, giant deal elsewhere.
Not here. It could be here. It actually could be here.
If I am going to completely destroy this front office if they sign him to a big money deal.
They shouldn't.
The repeatability of what he did this past year is just so low. The likelihood of it is so low. To be healthy and have as many sacks as he had, it's just
he had like a Pro Bowl season.
Don't bank on what he did happening again. Okay, you can't. But you look at their defensive tackles. It's McDowell's gone. Malik Jackson's going to be gone. You're left with Tommy Togiai and Jordan Elliott. Togiai is a long-term guy you hope develops. Okay,
Right.
Jordan Elliott is meh. You're going to need to add 4 defensive tackles of some caliber to this defensive line just as a baseline to start with. That's before adding another defensive end, a backup defensive end, and a backup for Myles Garrett because Tack McKinley ain't going to be back next year either.
We need some depth at defensive back too. Like we need
Yeah.
a free safety that can actually play free safety. Like we need help there
It's
as well.
not the
Like,
answer.
the problem with this Browns team is like we thought that we were like a piece or two away, and the problem is that we're a lot of pieces away. We all have like there's an argument to be made about almost every position on the field that the Browns need to address it in some way.
Much.
Whether it's they don't have a talented enough player that's starting or they need more depth at it. There's problems all over this roster. It's just not good. Luckily, I think we have a favorable schedule next year, but other than that, it's not a lot to look up about with the Browns.
Yeah. I honestly thought about putting running back on my list, to be frank with you. Because other than Chubb, I don't know if we can – Dearness Johnson had a couple nice games. I'll say that, but I don't know if he can do that over a full season.
Well, you don't need him to. He's a backup.
Yeah.
He's a backup right now. If anything,
He's a great backup running back.
You're looking at the expoundability of Kareem Hunt there, which gives you a little bit more flexibility elsewhere in the offense. Okay,
That's
They gotta
true.
do something. They gotta do something with him. You know, I don't know.
He was hurt so much. The dude's got no trade value. I honestly, cutting him seems like it's going to be a possibility.
Yeah.
And we got that other running back too, who's really good.
Dearness Johnson, yeah.
Yeah, we just
Like
Yeah, we were
he's
talking
a
about-
great replacement to the 1-2 punch.
he fits more. I'm just even as a backup, you gotta be able to do it on a more consistent basis. That's
Can-
all.
can-
Yeah.
Is-
If
is
you want to
Dearness-
argue a guy that hasn't fit in the Browns offense, though, it's not OBJ, it's Kareem Hunt. He's a guy that just does not fit.
Yes.
You know, it's just not the right style of running that we do. So I'm totally okay with him trimming the fat and cutting his salary and moving on from
I'm
him.
all right with that.
Yeah. He was never a guy I was excited about bringing here anyway for
Me neither.
off the field issues. But on the
Fair
field,
point.
you know, there's also a lot of arguments to be made about like why bring him here in the beginning. He was never the type of running back that's gonna, you know, operate in this style of offense. You know,
Well,
he's never been a zone guy.
I will
So-
say the only good he wasn't the best. The only good thing about play wise about him was he could catch the ball.
Mhm.
That was about
So
it.
with this surgery that Baker's undergoing, he's expected to be ready to go by training camp, correct?
I believe so, barring no setbacks. But, you know, shoulders are weird.
Will
Yeah.
he say something stupid on social media during that time?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's going to have a lot of idle time to do nothing. So,
Yeah.
What kind of things could you see him saying? Like just
he'll probably engage with people he shouldn't be engaging with. Someone stupid like Colin Cowherd, but that's really besides the point.
James,
do
do
like
you,
some-
do you still think he's on his way out, or are you starting to feel like we're stuck with him here? Because the farther away it gets from the end of our season, the more and more I feel like we're going to be stuck with Baker Mayfield next year.
It really depends on who's available, because you don't know who's going to be available for the Browns.
Is Baker just the squatter on the team? Just
He's a
doesn't want to
placeholder.
go?
He's a
Doesn't wanna
placeholder
go.
quarterback.
I mean, you look at who's possibly available. Derek Carr could be available. Jimmy G could be available. Kirk Cousins could be available. Those are probably the guys that are the guys you replace Baker with. Like,
And I'm
the
not
guys you
crazy
bring in,
excited about any of those guys.
They're not super exciting, but if you need to make a switch, which I think they do, that's the guy you bring in to replace. Now, if you're bringing in guys to challenge him for the job, less exciting individuals here. And that'd be Mitch Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, possibly trying to give Baker his best Ryan Tannehill impression and run him out of town.
What about famous Jameis?
I wouldn't touch him at all.
Could we?
Jameis Winston's got Pittsburgh Steelers written all over it. To me.
How about the return of the lucky one?
Who the hell was the lucky one?
What?
You know,
No, we don't. Who's
No,
the lucky
we
one?
don't.
I've never heard
the
that.
lucky
nickname.
one, the one who can turn this franchise around. One guy who was in retirement.
Oh, you mean Andrew Luck? Jesus Christ!
We're not talking.
Oh.
He's out of football.
Can we just move on, please?
Yeah,
You
let's
guys
move on.
are shutting him down. You'll be surprised when he comes back to the Browns.
Let's just move
He's
on,
not.
please.
All right,
Let's
back to
move on.
the NBA topic.
You say he's not. You can't predict the future.
We have
All right.
17 minutes left. We
If
got
it
some
were to
NBA
happen,
topics
what would
to
be your
discuss.
reaction?
So Paul
Okay.
George,
Oh,
Paul
yeah.
George is out. He's going to miss a few more weeks, according to Watch. He's
All right,
recovering
We're shutting
from
that conversation down. I see.
100%. He's recovering from a torn
Close-minded
ACL
to
and a
it.
shooting elbow. So we'll start there.
Okay.
Paul George being out, not great for the Clippers.
Not great.
They're kind of hovering around that bottom end of the playoff hunt in the Western Conference. It's just not having Paul George is not great for that.
Yeah, they're missing a future Hall of Famer, James.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
I
But-
knew you were going to say that.
Because he's
Yeah,
not. Sorry.
Because he's not.
I consider myself
All
to
right,
be
let's. You know what I was about
Wait.
to pull up?
What are you about to pull up, Churk? What wonderful numbers that don't matter are you going to pull up?
He's gonna make the Hall of Fame.
No, he's
On
not.
what basis?
And why did Mitch Richmond make the Hall of Fame?
I don't know why Mitch Richmond made the Hall of Fame. Was he in the Olympic team? Could that be
No,
why?
he made the Hall of Fame. He's got 5-time All-NBA third teams.
Who?
Paul George and 1-time first team.
You're the only person-
One-time first teamer, and you think that's a Hall of Famer? One
And
time.
then All-NBA third teams.
Yeah,
So
but
what?
the third. So he's the essentially the third best player at his position.
Yeah.
That's not Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame is you're the number one player at your position for a
Or number
sustainable
one.
amount of time.
Then how come Mitch Richmond made the Hall of Fame?
Okay, you keep going back to this guy that nobody in the world cares about.
Yeah,
It's not.
I know.
It just doesn't. The comparison doesn't. It's apples to oranges. You can't compare the two.
Yeah. Anyway, so going back to the actual topic at hand, the original topic at hand. I mean, I already didn't think the Clippers were going to do much because they were already without Kawhi Leonard for who knows however long. And for them to now be without Paul George, to borrow from a early 2000s kind of 90s board game, you sunk my battleship.
Yeah, I think both LA teams are. You could stick a fork in both of them this season.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
I agree too.
Yep.
Good for the NBA.
I just think you can stick more of a fork in the Clippers than you can the Lakers.
I mean, because you don't know what complete overhaul LeBron's going to just kind of put together and flip around 90% of that roster. Because
Yeah,
we know that's coming.
Precisely.
it's coming. Yep, that team's about to blow up.
We can be talking by deadline day, and the starting lineup with the Lakers is going to be LeBron, Anthony Davis, Domantas Sabonis, and De'Aaron Fox for all we know. Okay,
Yeah.
Let's be honest. The possibility of that happening is more likely than them continuing to run whatever they have for the rest of the
Yeah,
season.
I was shocked to see that today too. That De'Aaron Fox is now on the table because earlier in the year he was off. It was. I just don't understand that. It's puzzling.
I don't either.
He's a guy.
Kings being the Kings. It's continued irrelevance is what that is.
Yep.
100%.
I mean, they are in the playoff hunt.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look, I guess we'll flip to this because, in my opinion, mid-January is where teams start to round into form. But in terms of the Kings, no. Go away, Sacramento.
They're looking to blow it up. They're looking to trade De'Aaron Fox. Buddy Hield has had his own trade rumors about him. They're looking to – I don't know what they're looking to do. They're looking to continue to suck. Okay?
Buddy Hield would be a good fit on the Cavs right now.
He would be a fantastic fit on the Cavs, but I don't see that
100%.
happening.
Yeah.
We got some Cavs talk in a few more minutes. We got a couple more things first.
Cool.
Miles Turner is going to be out for beyond the trade deadline. He's still a trade option for the Pacers because the Pacers are just whatever. I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're looking to just trade anyone and everyone. But I could see him getting moved at some point.
If we traded Markkanen for him, I would take him as our power forward.
Well, Miles Turner's not a power forward.
Yeah.
I know, but
Anyway,
he
We
can
already
shoot
have
the three.
Mobley and Allen.
He can shoot the three.
But a trade that did happen, Bol was traded last night after his trade to Detroit was shut down because of a medical issue. He did have surgery, which is going to be out for like the next 3 months. It seems like he was just included in the trade to help facilitate the trade, but he is now in Boston, and he's a Celtic.
Hooray! We got
The
Bol
Celtics
Bol in
seem like they
Boston.
really like tall guys. They got Bol, and now they got – or not Bol. They got Taco, and now they got Bol.
Yeah, so Bol is in Boston. Speaking of former Celtics, Kyrie Irving not wavering on his vaccine stance despite KD being injured.
why are we talking about him? Why?
Because this is
We
important.
have to. He's
Yeah.
one of the best players in the
That's
NBA.
what-
We
There's
also
that
have to
player.
bring up, too – actually, we're getting to Cavs in a minute, but this has to do with Kyrie and the Cavs.
Yeah, we'll get to that in 1 second. But we're talking about Kyrie for this reason. KD's hurt. We don't know when he's going to be back. Kyrie is not changing his stance on a mandate which would allow him to play in his own state, in his own stadium. Even when they go to play the Knicks, he still can't play in those games. He's not changing his stance on something that would allow him to play, and that matters. That matters, especially since the Nets don't have Kevin Durant.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I'll give you that. I think the Nets could actually slip in the Eastern Conference standings as a result of this. No, they're not going to fall out of the playoffs. I'm not going to say that. I'm not that stupid. Or actually, stupid's the wrong word. I'm not that crazy. But still, I think the Nets could slip in the standings as a result of both the Kevin Durant injury and Kyrie being a coward.
I don't.
One way to put it.
I'm not going to call him a coward. Okay.
I disagree with him, but I'm not.
I disagree with I disagree with the stance on the vaccine thing, but I'm not going to call him a coward.
Yeah, he's a man of his convictions.
Now, would you call him a coward though? For what do you think about the ungrateful thing he said about the Cavs just recently when he played against?
This is a good transition because we can go into Cavs next because we're talking about the Nets game. That fan that yelled at him got exactly what he was deserving. That fan was an asshole. Kyrie Irving was part of a team that ended a citywide championship drought.
Yeah, I give Kyrie credit for that.
Well, why are you heckling Kyrie Irving?
Yeah.
Why are we still doing this?
Yeah, it doesn't
Because
make
people
any
still
sense.
hold grudges against Kyrie for the way he left.
Well, I hate to say it too, but his stance on the vaccine has also got him a lot of heckling as well. There are some people that feel very strongly about his stance on that, and they do call him a coward, among other things, for his stance on that. So regardless of what you think of it, he gets this a lot. It's just an unfortunate reality, but this is why I won't call him a coward, because in spite of all that, and in spite of all the things that people say and the media say about him, he stands by his convictions. So whether you agree with what he believes or not is neither here nor there. He seems like a guy who at least has integrity. So I wouldn't call him a coward, but he's making a very selfish decision.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I'm calling him a coward is because he's putting himself first rather than his team, and I just think that's a very cowardly move. And I think it's also like it feels like he's ignoring everyone. Like, I don't care about any of you. Like, I think Kevin Durant was going to go to the Knicks before Kyrie Irving came in and said, no, let's go to the Nets. And then for Kyrie to just pretty much almost bail on Durant in a way, I don't like that. And, Kyrie coming out and saying, yeah, we don't really need a coach. We can coach ourselves and all this and that. It just, for me, it seems like a cowardly move. That's why I'm calling him a coward.
I'll say he's an odd dude. Let's put it that way. He's someone who's eccentric. He's very firm in what he believes in.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't agree with the stance on the vaccine, but that's me.
Here's the thing, though, is we can't have it both ways. A lot of people say shut up and dribble to these guys, and it's like you can't have it both ways. If you want these guys to be able to have opinions and voice opinions, you also have to be okay with the fact that maybe their opinion you're not going to like. So you can't have it both ways.
Right.
So for the people who are angry with Kyrie for being honest and open, I don't get that.
Yeah,
Right.
I think personally, and I said this a while ago, I think the compromise could have been doing an extra test with him.
I mean, it's not something that he can necessarily agree to, or that's something that the NBA can facilitate. This is a New York State issue,
because I think that could have been an alternative.
This is a government issue. It's not an NBA or collective bargaining agreement type thing. So this is not something that they have. They do have an option to pay like a $5,000 fine every time he plays a game, but I don't think they're really excited about dropping that much money for him just to play in games. But let's move on to the game that did happen, though. The Cavs did beat the Nets.
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
You think this team is a dark horse finals contender?
They're not a dark horse finals team.
No.
Okay, they can go in the second round. I'll give them that.
Here's what I'll say. Good win, but if Kevin Durant played that game, the Cavs would have lost by 30.
Yeah,
you sure with Isaac Okoro back?
Who cares about Isaac Okoro? Them not having Kevin Durant matters 1,000 times more than Isaac Okoro being there.
That game was not as close as the score indicated either. At the end, it was close throughout the game. But the end of that game, it really would have been dominated by Brooklyn if Durant was playing. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, he wasn't playing. Our guys were. We won the game. We're only a game and a half out of first place, and then we face the Bulls tonight, who are tied for first place. So yeah, here we are, the Cavs. Game and a half out of first place in the Eastern Conference, and it's January 19th.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So
Awesome.
We had this discussion off mic through texting. I know we have vastly different opinions about this, and hey, that's okay. It makes for better content that way. I understand, Brian and James, why you guys say the season doesn't officially start till after All-Star break, and that's when you see teams start to round into form. I see your point on that. But for me, we're about 40-ish games into the season, roughly, I think, if I'm doing the math right. I'm not always the best at math. I'm not afraid.
We're over halfway through the season. So,
we are.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're over halfway through the season. I think now is when around the time you begin to see teams start to separate themselves. Not fully, because, if you look at the Eastern Conference,
it's a complete logjam at the top.
Exactly. You said this on TSG, Brian. Everybody's within 5 games of each other, and that's not necessarily. See,
everybody in the playoff picture, 1 through 10, are all within 5.5 games.
Yes. Thank you for helping me clarify that. I appreciate that.
So, just like the Cavs are only a game and a half out of first, we're only 4 games out of last. So.
Sure. I totally understand that. But for them to even be in this position,
that we agree with. Yeah, it's awesome that they're there. Yeah,
it's exciting. It's good. It's fun. It's encouraging.
Right.
But I just need to see more. I really do, because the post All-Star break, honestly, is where you see definitive separation. Sure, stuff might start to happen now, but it's still so congested. Until we have enough, or the separation between first and 10th is more than half dozen games, less than that. You really can't even really make swinging judgments about anyone.
Yeah.
Right.
You really have to wait for more information, more games.
I'll give you that. I will say this about the next game. Sure, they didn't have Kevin Durant, and that made a huge difference. But they still had James Harden and Kyrie Irving. That is still a very potent team. That's still a very dangerous team. They are, even without Kevin Durant, as long as they have Harden and Irving in the road games, they're still one of the top teams. So
they're still good, but I mean, we're talking tier 2 stars here.
Mm-hmm.
So
if Kevin Durant's a superstar, then there's stars. Then there's tier 2 guys. I think Kyrie and James Harden are both tier 2 guys.
Okay,
I agree.
But I still think it's a very impressive win for the Cavs, not just because of beating the Nets, but also because of this. We had just come off of a grueling 6-game road trip where you had to play 5 games in 7 days, 2 sets of back-to-backs. A majority of the games on that road trip came right down to the wire, including that game in Oklahoma City where somehow we were trailing by double digits. So for them to come out and put on that type of performance against a team that many consider to be a finals favorite, win fully healthy, and all that, that's a big statement win.
I'm not going to go statement win. I'll say encouraging that they didn't blow it. How's that sound?
I'll give you that it was a good win for the reasons you were saying, that they're coming off a long road trip. The first game at home off a long road trip is always hard. For those who gamble, everybody knows that that's a game that is very, very difficult to play. So, yeah, it's encouraging, but let's see it towards the end of the season with both squads fully healthy, and then we'll talk more.
Yeah,
because it's just too early. Things are too tight right now. Need to kind of wait and see how things sort of separate themselves and how the waters settle.
Yep. We are on our final minute here. Two little news of note things to acknowledge. Willie O'Ree is having his number 22 retired by the Bruins.
Finally.
First African-American hockey player. Played 45 games for the Bruins, scored 4 goals, had 10 assists, playing in 2 games in 57-58 and 43 in 60-61. So very, very much belated on that, but he is getting his number retired. And in terms of some baseball news, because we have some kind of news, Carlos Correa switched agents to Scott Boras, looking to get that super deal. Apparently, he was looking for a $330 million deal, similar to what Corey Seager got from the Rangers.
Yeah.
That's crazy talk to me for a 6'4" shortstop who has back problems. I wouldn't even touch it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't either.
It's the right time to do this because there's definitely not going to be any action anytime soon on the field. So if ever there was a time to make moves like this to hire a new agent, it's now because unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be seeing baseball anytime soon.
Neither do I.
Gonna be a minute.
Yeah.
Gonna be a minute.
Huge bummer. But yeah, Willie O'Ree, big one, first black player in the NHL. Yeah, good on the Bruins for retiring his number, but yeah, it should have been one of the first numbers that they retired. So good on them. But yeah, it's good to see him finally getting the recognition he deserves, especially on Martin Luther King Day. Really cool how the Bruins did that. So good on them. Yeah, and it's just nice to hear about baseball and know that baseball is still a sport that exists because I love baseball. And I want it to come back so bad, but it is just a bleak atmosphere right now for baseball fans.
Pretty bleak.
Yeah, it definitely is.
All right. Well, anybody have any last thoughts before we leave? I think that's it. We've gone through the entire rundown. Been a really fun show. Thank you guys for being here, being on time. But yeah, any last words before we move on?
Due to your vote and also some pushback, no more singing from me on So What's the Catch?
Yeah. No. All right.
Bryan, no promises on that for TSG, though.
Oh, okay. That's fair. All right. Well,
if you are going to do it, get some vocal coaching.
There you go. There we go. Churk will support you through that. If you want to, we'll hold your hand and we'll make sure that you make it to your appointments and whatnot on time. All right, guys. It's been fun like always. I love you guys. We'll see you guys later.
See ya.
All right. See ya.
Peace.
He forgot